All right, 3 o'clock. What's up? NBA playoffs continue tonight. Pivotal Game 5 in Detroit. The Cavs and Pistons. Detroit favored by 4. Series is all tied up at 2. Cleveland still searching for their first road win this postseason. NFL schedule will drop tomorrow at 5. Broncos at the Chiefs in the first Monday Night Football game of the year on September 14th. Packers and the Rams are going to be the first Thanksgiving Eve game on Wednesday night. The Portland Fire got their first win last night, 98-96 over the Liberty. Sarah Ashley Barker with a bucket at the buzzer to secure the win. Checking out the Dimes, zip the Mariners. The Guardians over the Angels 4-2, and the Orioles shut out the Yankees 7-zip. The Mariners over the Angels 4-2, and the Orioles shut out the Yankees 7-zip. The Mariners are in Houston against the Astros. First pitch at 5:10. Miller and McCullers.
Live from the Coors Light Studios, it's the Rip City Drive with Chad Doing. Coors Light, cold as the Rockies. Please drink responsibly.
Hands to Wembanyama. Victor, the lane clears. Look out! Victor Wembanyama, windmill right-hand jam. And that's 9 already in the first quarter for Big Vic. Here comes Wembanyama, going to work again, backing it in. Victor, kick out, Castle. Left wing, Castle, back to Wembanyama. 3-ball on the way. Yes, sir! Victor Wembanyama feeling it. 16 in the opening quarter. Anthony Edwards back to Shannon Jr. in the left corner. Shot clock at 9. He'll pull up for threes. Blocked. Wembanyama blocked it on the closeout. Spurs with the ball. And you can turn out the lights in the gym here tonight as the Spurs pull away from Minnesota in the final 19 minutes of the game, outscoring Minnesota 65-36 and win it 126-97 to take a 3-2 lead in this best-of-7 Western Conference semifinal series.
I think you guys asked me about it, and I've answered questions. Nobody has any idea what the future holds, and I don't either.
Strap in. The Rip City Drive with Chad Doing starts now.
All right, what's up, my friends? A little Richard Marks as we open up the show, and I got to be honest with you. I love Richard Marks. He's been doing a lot of great work on social media of late. And he's a great singer-songwriter, and he got his start in the business as a songwriter. And he produced singer-songwriter, and he got his start in the business as a songwriter. And he produced a couple of big hits for Kenny Rogers, and then eventually was able to go out and create his own career. He's a really cool guy. I like him, and he's got some great stories. I think it was Barbra Streisand. So that big hit he had, Right Here Waiting for You, he had originally presented that song to Barbra Streisand, and she's like, I can't do that song. You're going to have to change the lyrics around. I'm not going to be right here waiting for anyone, which is a great take from Barbra Streisand. So he ended up using that song himself. There you go. All the things you didn't know and probably didn't care about in regard to Richard Marks. All right, Rip City Drive. I tell you what, there's a lot of bad takes floating around out there right now. I'm tired of bad takes with people and their sports and what they think we need and what we don't need. Like, I love all these morons that are like, 24 teams. We don't need 24 teams in the college football playoff. Why not? Why don't we need 24 teams? The more people that tell me that we don't need 24 teams, the more I think it's a good idea. Give me 24 teams. There are certain things in life that you can't get enough of. Big-time football games. What else would you put on that list? Sex. Like, there's a lot of things that you can't get too much of. Football would be one of those things. I need a 24-team playoff right away. So give me that, and I'll tell you what. This idea that somehow we don't need football on Thanksgiving Eve, I know people are complaining about that. Yeah, we do. I'm going to watch it. You're going to watch it. I just don't think we can get too much football. I don't think you can saturate the market with too much NFL. I'll watch it all day long just like you will. I'm totally down. College football, NFL, I'm in, baby. I'm 100% in. Telephone number 503-248-0620. I'm working on a couple of things for the show, but like usual, no one's responding to me. I'm trying, Jennifer. So I'm waiting to hear back, but looking forward to talking today. A lot of good things. NBA playoffs will continue tonight. We got Detroit and Cleveland, Game 5 from Detroit coming up at 5 o'clock. That series is all tied up at 2. And the Cleveland Cavaliers, it's bizarre. They have won every single home game, and they've lost every single road game. Home teams are 11-0 in Cleveland Cavalier postseason games this year. And Detroit struggling after games 3 and 4 in Cleveland. Can they get it back tonight? Will Cade Cunningham have a bounce-back effort? Or will Cleveland go back home with a 3-2 series lead? Now, I do want to talk about Victor Wembanyama. We heard it in the open. He was unbelievable last night. Unbelievable. And another bad take, too. Why were they acting like somehow Wembanyama was a victim after game number 4? He is fortunate that he was able to play last night in Game 5. I mean, after all, he is guilty of attempted homicide on Naz Reid with that elbow. So I didn't like the way that whole story was painted before the game, that somehow he's a victim, that he shouldn't have been suspended. He's lucky he got to play in Game 5. And the Spurs are fortunate that he wasn't suspended for a game or so after trying to kill Naz Reid. That was a dangerous elbow. So I didn't like that whole narrative, but I love watching Wemby play. The guy's unbelievable, and he was dominant last night. And quite frankly, he's showing flashes of what he's going to become. And as I mentioned yesterday, he's so dominant defensively, and he changes so many shots, and the Timberwolves have no answer. And they've got guys who are big and physical. They've got Naz Reid. They've got Rudy Gobert. And those guys have no chance against him. He's catching lobs. He's taking one dribble from the three-point line and dunking in people's faces. He's blocking numerous shots. He's changing a bunch more. He can shoot the three. He can handle the rock like a guard. And he stands at 7'5". And he's got the agility of Kobe Bryant. Yeah, that's real normal. Never seen anything like it. And I love Anthony Edwards because he was very honest after the game last night. The Spurs won in blowout fashion to take a 3-2 series lead. Now they're going to go back to Minnesota. We'll see if the Wolves can extend the series to a Game 7. But even Ant's like, dude, we have no answer. Nobody's got an answer for that guy. Wemby is ridiculous.
A couple games now in a row with slow starts to the game. You guys have kind of been digging out of a hole at the start. What do you think has been going on just at the start?
I mean, tonight, some of the stuff that Wemby was doing, you don't really have too much of an answer for it. Just kind of hope he misses. But he came out high. He made a bunch of shots. I feel like we adjusted, fought back in the game. Tried to dig ourselves out of the hole, but I mean, eventually they created another league and running out in transition. We got to get back, get matched up. Just game plan mistakes that we keep making, and it's too late in the series to make these mistakes.
A couple games now in a row with.
All right, there you go. There's Anthony Edwards. They have no answer. There's no answer for Victor Wembanyama because of his size, his ability, and what he's doing out there on the floor. And the scary part about San Antonio is that they're really young. They missed a lot of open looks last night. Victor Wembanyama is a willing passer. Wait until that group really starts to find their game and develop a comfort with that. When Wembanyama develops a go-to move, whether that's a hook shot or a fadeaway, there's going to be something that he'll develop on the block that will be unstoppable. And once he has that go-to move, good luck trying to figure that guy out. The Spurs are a serious problem, obviously. And I'm still jealous that they got him. Has there been a team that's been more fortunate in the lottery and the draft than the San Antonio Spurs? Unbelievable. And just look at what they've been able to do. And then Wemby ends up having the issues. They get back in the lottery and get Dylan Harper, who looked awesome last night. He is a strong, strong young guard. So the Spurs are impressive. I still respect the heck out of the Timberwolves. They're out there battling and giving it everything they've got. It's just that some matchups like this one, even with the guys that they have, they just don't have an answer. So I don't know what you do. They got Julius Randle, Rudy Gobert, Naz Reid, and Wemby's out there killing them last night. So great series, great intensity, playoff basketball, so much better than the regular season. Now tonight, it's going to be very curious to see if the Cavs can put together a complete game on the road. James Harden, Donovan Mitchell, great at home, but the turnovers and the miscues and the missed shots have been an issue on the road. And for Detroit, they got to figure out their defensive assignments because as you get deeper into a series and teams get comfortable with what they're running and what they're doing, they know the matchups they're looking for. So it's going to be critical tonight for Cade Cunningham to have a big game and for Detroit to slow down both Mitchell and Harden. And the Cavs are getting good looks, too, because of the work of those two guys. So keep an eye on the three-point ball tonight. That's going to be critical, and that's going to go a long ways to determining the outcome of the game. And I thought the officiating last night was pretty good. They didn't go overboard. You know, the Spurs were rewarded because they were the aggressor. But, man, when you turn it over against the Spurs and they get out and start to run and they're sharing the basketball the way they were last night, I think they had 25 assists in the game. That was a beautiful, beautiful performance, execution, everything. Also, the Portland Fire last night got their first win of the year. They're now 1-1. They got a bucket at the buzzer, and they topped the New York Liberty 98-96. Now, Shacker was at the game last night. What was that atmosphere like, the finish and the crowd? Was it similar to the opener on Saturday? What was your takeaway?
Well, it wasn't similar in the sense that it was a smaller crowd, but to be able to pull off a win, buzzer beater, the fans loved it. The game ended and no one wanted to leave. The players did not leave the court. The fans did not leave the arena. And it was good to see them get their first win on the second game of the season.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. Sarah Ashley Barker in the right place at the right time, got the bucket to go, and they get the win. And it's pretty cool to see. I didn't expect them to win that game last night, and I think you and I both know that it's going to be a struggle this year, like it is for the majority of all expansion teams in that first year. But to see them get that win early and the home crowd be able to celebrate it, that was pretty sweet.
It's looking like they're gelling as a team more so last night than the first preseason game. Things are coming together.
All right, so there you have it. Portland Fire now 1-1. They get their first win over the Liberty. All right, 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. I will reset a portion of my conversation. You know, the Blazers could be looking to do that. And I think a big move. You know, the Blazers could be looking to do that. And I think more importantly, I asked him, have you seen enough or do you have enough data from both Scoot and Shaden to have an idea of what they are and what you should do with them? And he's like, no. And my guess is the Blazers would like to have more data on both of those guys as well. And I hope you're enjoying your Wednesday. It's not beautiful and sunny outside, but we did get some much-needed rain. All right, so one playoff game tonight, and we're going to have a couple of Game 6s coming up on Friday. NFL schedule will drop tomorrow at 5, and we're going to get NFL football on the night before Thanksgiving, and I'm all for it. Yeah, give me more football. Give me more. I'm not going to get tired of it, and my guess is you all are going to watch too. And the Wednesday night before Thanksgiving's that's a good night because you know you're not going to work the next day. You probably don't have to get up too early, and it gives you a little entertainment the night before Thanksgiving. I just want more football games. I would prefer that every team doesn't have to go out and play international games. I'm not a big fan of that idea, but the NFL, no different than any of these sports leagues, they're looking for money, the almighty dollar. And if teams have to sacrifice a home game to play overseas, they're going to do it. They don't care. All right, Rip City Drive, right here in your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. All right, Shacker pointed out that Journey is going to be at the Veterans Memorial Coliseum. Not sure why they're playing there for the they still same year 2 years ago. So I probably won't go to the show, but if you haven't seen them live, they still put on a 2 years ago. So I probably won't go to the show, but if you haven't seen them live, they still put on a very good show. They sound good. Neil Sean is one of the best with the guitars. So if you haven't seen them, you're going to have a chance to once again see them before they're done at Veterans Memorial Coliseum. And, of course, when a band says they're done, that can mean a lot of different things. So we'll have to wait and see. The Eagles say they're done, and yet they keep booking more shows at the Sphere down in Las Vegas. Telephone number 503-248-0620. Anything you want to talk about, I'm good with. Just some ideas. I'm totally down with a 24-team college football playoff. And I think it's a good idea. I don't see how that's going to be a bad idea. I think it's going to enhance the regular season. It's going to provide more hope and excitement for fan bases and different schools across the country. So give me more. So I'm down with the idea. I think it's going to work. I also like that the NFL is adding more football games in at different times during the week throughout the season. Now we're going to get a Thanksgiving Eve game this year, and I think it's a good idea as well. Give me football in situations where I can sit and watch, and I know I'm not going to have to work the following day. So I don't have a problem with it whatsoever. The NFL and college football is one of those things where I don't know if you can get too much of it. My guess is you can't, but I'm willing to give it a shot to see how long I can go watching as much football as possible before I get tired of it. And I've never gotten tired of football my entire life. There are other sports where I watch and I get burned out. Usually now I get burned out on the NBA, and I go through phases, but it's probably because I cover every single Trailblazer game, and so I just get worn out. And so I look for other sports to find interest in. And maybe you can experience the same thing. I know a lot of you out there are just casual sports fans, and there's nothing wrong with that. My entire life has been built around a sports calendar for, the last 40 years or so. You know, I live by the sports. And so I find different things to have interest in so that I can continue to be excited about a variety of different things. My buddy Steve got me into Formula One, so I will watch, and I have a better understanding of what's going on. I've always enjoyed both men's and women's tennis. I love watching the majors. Golf, love the major tournaments. I'm hoping that the PGA will open up a pathway for the guys who went to live to come back, because I want the best golfers going up against the best golfers in the biggest tournaments of the year, in the PGA, the British, the U.S. Open, and, of course, the Masters. So just open up a pathway and make it possible for those guys to make the return. I want to see Bryson going up against the best. And those guys are idiots, too, because if they were just honest from the get-go, there probably wouldn't be as much bitterness towards them. It's very simple. Just say, hey, they offered me $200 million up front to go play golf on their tour. It changed my life. So I did it for the money. I don't think people understand that if you just tell the truth, people in general are going to have a lot more respect for you. Like if you're just honest, right? If you're just honest and say, look, I did it for the money. Wouldn't you have done that? They offered me $200 million up front. How can I say no to that? I'd respect that. But when you lie about it and say you're doing it to grow the game or for some other reason, it's ridiculous. Same thing with athletes. Robert Williams III, actually, in his exit interview, he was asked about what his offseason is going to look like and whether or not he wanted to come back to Portland. And he said that he would love to come back. He said, those guys are my homies. He enjoyed playing this year, and they found that sweet spot to where he was able to play and be healthy throughout the course of the season. The training staff did a good job with him. But he also admitted that money's going to be a big part of it. And I respect that. It's like, hey, this is a limited period of time where I have a chance to max out my earning potential. So I'm not just going to take a cheap deal to come back to Portland. I'm going to do what's best for me and my family. And so when you're honest like that, I respect it. But when athletes come out and say it's not about the money, it's like, come on, man. It's usually about the money for most of us. And there's nothing wrong with that. Now, my dad did tell me, he's like, don't make decisions just strictly off of money. What he was concerned about, I think, was that if you only care about the money and you're only pursuing the money, then you're not going to find happiness. And he's probably right about that. I think my dad always said, just find what you love and pursue it, and the money will follow. I mean, there's a lot of people I know that are in jobs where they make good money, but they hate their job. So I don't know. Just be honest in your situations, and people will respect it. And no one likes a phony. That's why I don't like LeBron James. It's not because he's not a great basketball player. He's awesome. He's just not honest, and he's very phony-like. Don't pretend to read books you haven't read. Don't act like you don't know what you're going to do. Like he's right now pretending like he doesn't know he's going to come back. And that's not really genuine. He's coming back. Just like when he said that he doesn't pay attention to the GOAT debate between he and Mike. Hey, LeBron, if you didn't pay attention to the GOAT debate, then why do you have a bunch of media types on the Clutch payroll who are out there pushing the narrative that you're the greatest of all time? So they're doing that, but you don't pay attention to the GOAT debate? I don't believe that. Or he said that he doesn't really desire a retirement tour. Yes, he does. Because everything about him throughout his career would suggest that he cares about me. He is the poster child for the me generation. So I guarantee you he's not going to go out in the dark of the night quietly. Like, for instance, he's not just going to announce through his agent that he's done playing basketball and he's not going to come back next year. That's not the way he's done things his entire career. He will come back. He will make sure he gets the retirement tour, whether it's with the Lakers or maybe the Cavs or the New York Knicks, but he will get the retirement tour in every single city that he plays in his last season, whenever that may be. But he does know he's coming back because he hasn't gotten the retirement tour yet. He'll never admit that, but I would respect him more if he just came out and said, yeah, I want to be known as the greatest of all time, so I pay attention to the debate. And, of course, athletes have been saying that for years, right? Oh, I don't pay attention to what people say. I don't read the papers. I don't listen to the talk shows. When they say that, that's a pretty good indicator that they pay attention. And there's nothing wrong with that. A lot of guys do it because they're looking for any type of little bump in their focus level. Michael Jordan was known for that. Anything he read or heard that he thought might be a slight, he would use it as motivation in the next game. And that's cool. I don't have an issue with that whatsoever. So whatever you want to talk about is fine with me. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. But I'll tell you what, watching Wemby play, isn't it fun? Like, I can't believe how good he is at that size. You know, growing up, there were a lot of big guys who played in the NBA. A lot of big centers, but they weren't coordinated and as agile as someone like Wemby. Like, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is one of the best players I've ever seen. And the skyhook is the greatest shot in the history of the sport, no question about it. And he could handle the rock a little bit, but he wasn't bringing the ball up the floor. He wasn't shooting step-back three-pointers. David Robinson was a terrific player, great defender. He could run the floor. He was pretty agile for a guy of his size, but he wasn't bringing the ball up the floor. He wasn't shooting threes. He wasn't crossing guys up off the bounce and then dunking the basketball. Shaquille O'Neal is another one of those guys. The most powerful guy I've ever seen play basketball before. Breaking backboards, breaking hoops, dunking in guys' faces, running up and down the floor, over 7 feet, massive and strong. He was pretty good and incredibly powerful. But again, he wasn't shooting threes and crossing guys up. Even Arvydas Sabonis, who is one of the more skilled bigs, and he was the first guy of his size I'd ever seen pass the way he passed, be able to shoot the way he shot. Arvydas Sabonis was awesome. And he was awesome even after the Blazers got him well past his prime. The first time I saw him at the Rose Garden, I was like, whoa, this guy's awesome. The way he could just handle the basketball like a grapefruit because he had those giant hands. His passing, his feel for the game. But he couldn't cross guys up off the bounce. He couldn't dribble it once from the three-point line, go around guys and jam it. And he was a great player. So Wemby's awesome. And I just thought last night what he did and the way he energized his team was great. Didn't really care for the narrative that somehow he was the victim after he tried to decapitate Naz Reid. But the Timberwolves had no answer. And that's going to be the problem. And what I'm going to pay attention to over the next 2 or 3 years are what teams do to adjust as he continues to get better, and what your plan's going to be to stop him, or how you're going to defend him. Will they continue to be physical and try and rough him up a little bit, Will they try to draft or find talent, guys who are long enough that might be able to defensively slow him down? Like Rudy Gobert is a terrific defender. He's one of the best defenders in the game. And he's got the long arms and the great size, but he's just not agile enough and doesn't have the foot speed to be able to keep up with a guy like that. And that's the problem when you get these unique skilled bigs. Jokic is very similar from the standpoint that he handles the ball like a guard. He can run the pick and roll. He can shoot the three. He's really difficult to defend because the guys who are on him, once they get away from the basket, they don't have the speed to be able to keep up with a guy like Jokic. Now, we saw that game at the end of the year, San Antonio and Denver. It was one of the best basketball games of the season, a couple of weeks before the end of the regular season. And Jokic finally was able to have some success late in the game because he was using his size and girth to back Wemby down. And then because he's got that unique delivery of the basketball where it's well behind his head, even Wemby couldn't block that. But it's really hard for him to score with Wemby because of his length and size and shot blocking ability. So I don't know what you do, but it's going to be fun to watch teams because what's going to happen with the Spurs, they're going to win a championship here in the near future. And then once they win it and they start to get more experience and a better understanding of everyone's role and how they all fit together around Wemby, they're going to be unstoppable. And so now you're going to have to watch teams try to come up with different ways to combat that. Same thing with Michael Jordan for the 6 championships. There were teams that came up with many different ideas on how to defend the guy. But once he got a handle on everything and became physically and mentally stronger to deal with the punishment that was being doled out, especially against the Pistons, he became unstoppable. And teams just didn't have an answer. Like, you tried to make him work. You tried to make everything tough for him, hoping it might tire him out, but he always found a way to overcome. And so I'm going to watch Wemby now because defensively he's already unstoppable. Offensively, he's not quite at the level where you would expect him to be 2 or 3 years from now, but he's going to develop a go-to move. He's going to continue to work and develop the ball handling, the shooting ability. He can shoot over the top of anyone. He is a unique. So I had a lot of fun watching him last night. And the Timberwolves are a really good team, and they're a great defensive team. No answer. And that's why I love Ant. Ant's a very honest guy. And I like Ant because he's kind of a throwback dude, and he likes to talk junk. He's very athletic. He's a good defender, but he has respect for Wemby.
A couple games now in a row with slow starts to the game. You guys have kind of been digging out of a hole at the start. What do you think has been going on just at the start?
I mean, tonight, some of the stuff that Wemby was doing, you don't really have too much of an answer for it. Just kind of hope he misses. But he came out high. He made a bunch of shots. I feel like we adjusted, fought back in the game. Tried to dig ourselves out of the hole, but I mean, eventually they created another league and running out in transition. We got to get back, get matched up. Just game plan mistakes that we keep making, and it's too late in the series to make these mistakes.
Very honest assessment. 503-248-0620. I just got a very interesting question from Sean in Damascus. Hey, Chad, would you rather have been a rock star, a pro golfer, or an NBA player? It's a very good question. Now, obviously, I love golf, and I've got a passion for golf, but I have no desire to be on the PGA Tour. Too much travel, too much pressure. It would be a lot of fun to be really good at golf like that, but the competition, the challenge, the travel, the constant work on the game, I could see that really messing up my mind. So I would say no to pro golfer. NBA player, now when I was 12-year-old Chad, absolutely I was all about the NBA. I'd pick rock star. Rock star for a variety of different reasons. One, if you're a rock star, everyone wants to be you. You get to play in front of big crowds. You get to jam out and have a good time. And then during your downtime, and of course the travel would be kind of fun, you could take your golf clubs with you, play in many different places across the world as you're touring, and then you'd have the scratch to go watch whatever basketball game you want. And some of those places would probably welcome you in and give you free tickets. So I'm going rock star all day. And in terms of duration of career, based on a lot of the rock stars I have followed for years and gone to their concerts, they've been doing tours for like 30 or 40 years. So once you're good and you get a few hits, you're set for life because you can continue to tour and people will pay the money to show up to watch you play. And I think it would be kind of fun because I've heard different artists talk about this. Like, think about the big hits that these bands have or artists have. They play the same songs every night over and over and over again. Now, do they get tired of that because it's monotonous? Yeah, I'm sure they do. But I've heard many of them say that once they step out on stage and they play a song that everyone knows and they see the energy from the crowd and the way their faces light up and how they're all singing along, that it energizes them because they know how much the music means to them. And most of the smart artists understand that it's the music that will last forever. So when you put on a show and people show up to watch you and you're known for a number of specific hits, you got to play the songs that people want to hear. So, yeah, I'm choosing rock star over NBA player and pro golfer. Being a pro golfer would just be like golf is the crazy thing about golf. And for you golfers out there, you understand this. You're never comfortable ever. Even when you're in a hot streak and you're swinging the club well and you're not even thinking about anything, you know that you're one swing away from possibly going into a tailspin. And it's a balancing act. And so that's the most frustrating thing about golf is that you can lose it. One day you feel great. The next day, you're not so sure what's going on out there. I mean, you feel like a teenage girl out there. You're like just an emotional wreck. I can't imagine what it's like to be on PGA Tour. Who was it that was in here? Brian Henniger. He was in studio with Alex Brink, and he was talking about the same thing, that he was always practicing, always playing, and always worried about losing his swing. Being an NBA player would not suck either. You work, 6 months out of the year? Especially nowadays, you can just load manage and play half the season or whatever and make guaranteed cash. That's a pretty good gig if you can get it. I think I'll be Joel Embiid. I'll play about 40 games. I'll play a part of the playoff games, and then you just keep sending those guaranteed dollars direct deposit to my bank, please. Amazing that those guys make that type of scratch, and they load manage. That's a good job if you can get it, but no, I'm going rock star. And, dude, rock star is cool because all athletes want to be rock stars, and all rock stars want to be athletes. And I think with music, like songwriting and being able to play and sing, I can't relate to that because I'm a no-talent ass clown, if I'm being honest with you. So when I see them up there performing and doing what they do, I'm fascinated by the whole thing. I love it. All right, we'll keep things rolling. Rip City Drive. Hope you're enjoying your Wednesday. One game tonight in the NBA playoffs. It's Game 5 in Detroit, Pistons and Cavs. And as you know, the Game 5 is always pivotal in the series. It's tied 2-2. The winner of Game 5 wins 82% of the series. So critical game for both teams tonight as we continue for the NBA playoffs, while the Oklahoma City Thunder and the New York Knicks sit back and wait and get rest until they know who they're going to be matched up with in the Western and Eastern Conference Finals. Yeah, most people agree. Rockstar or a pro golfer. I'm going Rockstar 100% of the time. Now, or a pro golfer. I'm going Rockstar 100% of the time. Now, if you had a chance to play a sport or be a professional athlete, what sport would you choose? I really don't know the answer to that either because I love so many sports. I remember talking to Lo Neal one morning, and I used to do mornings down in San Francisco. And so we get to the station early, between 3:30 and 4. The show started at 6. And for Lo Neal, he played fullback in the NFL for 16 years. And he should be in the Hall of Fame because he blocked for some of the best backs in the history of the league, including LaDainian Tomlinson. And LT asked him to do the speech when he was inducted into the Hall of Fame. Lo Neal is a Hall of Fame football player, but the Hall of Fame doesn't respect fullbacks the way that they should. But with Lo Neal having played that sport for 16 years, you can imagine the wear and tear, the physical punishment. And Lo Neal is one of the strongest human beings I've ever met in my life. But the violent collisions, game after game after game, in the mornings, you could tell the impact, with the head trauma and all the different things he had been through. It took him a while to get warmed up in the mornings before he was, ready to roll. And so it was just interesting to watch that process because that guy played his ass off in the NFL. He was also one-time California State Athlete of the Year. How good do you have to be that guy? He was a terrific wrestler, too, not to mention football player. He played at Fresno State. But anyways, I asked him, with the injuries and the way his body felt, and he did a good job of taking care of his body, but you still go through attrition and deal with injuries and the head trauma and everything when you play in the NFL. I said, would you do it again? Knowing what you know now and knowing how you feel today, if given the option, would you do it again or would you choose a different path? And he looked me directly in the eye and said, 100% I would do it again. He said that there's nothing like being able to suit up and play with the guys next to you in the locker room. The way that you feel when you run out on the football field, when you hear the crowd cheer and the energy in the stadium, whether you're at home or on the road, he said there's nothing like it. There's nothing that he can find in his life that replicates that feeling of a game day on Sunday when you run out onto the field in an NFL stadium. He loved it. He also loved being in the locker room with his teammates and the relationships that were formed that still last to this day. And then he said, honestly, the NFL provided me a pathway to be able to provide for my family. Now, keep in mind, Lowe played fullback, so he wasn't making gigantic quarterback dollars. He made a good living, but it wasn't like he made big money. What he told me is that all the leagues do it, but it's just a matter of whether the players take advantage of all the different things that are in place. So at the Rookie Symposium, Lowe told me that he was there taking notes and listening to every single speaker and everything that they laid out to make sure that he got a good handle on everything. And so he took advantage of all the different retirement funds, the investments, all the different things that were set up so that he could protect himself long term. And then through that, he and his dad were able to purchase some properties and do some rentals. And so he set himself up nicely. And he's got some special need children, like Isaac. He has to deal with that himself, and he's able to provide for his family. So he said he would absolutely do it again, but it came at a cost physically. So I don't know if I'd choose football, although I think playing football would be pretty badass. And I respect those guys because they're like human gladiators. I can't believe some of the things that they do. The toughness, the way that they're willing to put their body in harm's way. Every time I watch a football game, I'm like, whoa, those guys are bad dudes. Basketball would be a lot of fun. Like, we all love playing hoop. I played a lot of hoop growing up. Like, basketball is just a fun game. Golf is amazing, but it's super hard. And as I mentioned before, like, what it does to your mind and your emotion, I just don't know if I'm cut out for that. But that would be interesting to travel around and play different courses. And once you get good enough and you start getting the endorsement dollars, those golfers can make some big-time scratch, outside of the game and not relying on the purses from the tournaments. Those guys make big money. So props to them for that. Tennis would be interesting, but I don't know. Tennis? Baseball wouldn't be bad. But the problem with baseball, I mean, that's a grind of a season, 162 games. I would imagine you get pretty tired of traveling around and staying in different hotels and then having to grind your way through. Like baseball, I love baseball and I love watching it. I just don't know if I'd want to play it because of the time demands, right? So, yeah. So, I don't know what sport I would choose, but I would choose rock star. And do we all admire the rock stars? I admire their talent so much. Songwriting, instrument playing, the whole shebang. I'm fascinated by all of it. And it's got to be a pretty good feeling when you step up on stage. And I've never experienced this before, but if you're on stage playing the guitar or you're singing and you've got an entire arena that's singing along with you or cheering you on, like that's got to be pretty intoxicating. I don't know. I think we always admire the people that have the abilities that we don't. All right, 503-248-0620. Reach out to me on. You can reach out to me on social media. You can reach out to me on social media at Chad and Rip City. Game 5, Pistons and Cavs coming up at 5. That game's going to be, I think, on ESPN. Hard to keep track of all the NBA games now. We got Prime Video. We got NBC and Peacock. We got ESPN. I think tonight's ESPN. Game 5, and then we're going to get Game 6 back in Minnesota with the Spurs and the Timberwolves. You know that game's going to be good. I am going to reset a couple of items from my conversation with Dave Decker that you may find interesting. If you want to reach out, 503-248-0620. You got the Rip City Drive on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. The NBA playoffs are going to continue tonight. We got a Game 5 afternoon. The NBA playoffs are going to continue tonight. We got a Game 5 in Detroit. Cavaliers and Pistons. Detroit is favored by 4.5. And the winner of Game 5, when the series tied at 2-2, the winner of Game 5 gets the series 82% of the time. Spurs and Timberwolves headed to a game number 6. Broncos and Chiefs are going to play in the first Monday Night Football game, which is going to be on September 14th. The Packers and Rams will be in the first Thanksgiving Eve game. And checking the diamond tonight, where the Mariners are going to be in action, coming up here just after 5, first pitch at 5:10 in Houston against the Astros. Miller and McCullers, your pitching matchup. Orioles shut out the Yankees 7-zip. Guardians double up the Angels 4-2. Rockies, Pirates, top of the first in a rain delay. All right, this song right here from Benny Mardones, Into the Night, it's one of the all-time great vocal performances. It also might have the creepiest music video in the history of music videos. And some people are a bit alarmed when they listen to the lyrics, but I've heard Mardones explain the story behind the song. He's done many interviews that you can find on YouTube. Now, give me some volume on this, because this song's got a great story, and there aren't too many songs like this. It's very unique. The title of the song is Into the Night. Mardones, and by the way, rest in peace, Benny Mardones. He passed away a couple of years ago. I wish I could sing so bad. All right, so he originally released this song back in June of 1980. The song peaked at number 11 on the Hot 100 for 2 weeks that September, logging 20 weeks on the chart before falling off in late October. In 1989, Where Are They Now? Arizona radio segment spurred LA DJ Scott Shannon to add the song to his playlist, ultimately rocketing the song back onto the national charts on May 6th. This time it peaked at number 20 the first week in July, adding 17 weeks to its previous run of 20 for a total of 37 non-consecutive weeks. Into the Night was a hit on the adult contemporary radio the second time as well, where it spent 19 weeks and also peaked at number 20 on the charts. The original recording was in C minor. Shortly before his 2017 retirement, Mardones performed it in B minor to accommodate his aging voice. So this right here, now, they did this is the re-recorded version that was released in 89 right here. And if you listen to the two versions, the 1980 and the 1989, you can tell slight differences. I'm a music geek, and I've listened to this song a billion times, so I know the difference. All right, give me some volume. This vocal performance is pretty good. And if I had to choose between one of the two, I'm going to go with the original recording back in 1980. Now, do you all want to take a guess as to why he was never able to duplicate the success that he had from this song right here, which is a classic? What would be your guess, Shaka? You're pretty good at guessing why certain people struggle.
He sold his soul to the devil, and he only agreed to one hit.
No.
Devil. Oh, that's not it? Okay.
Drugs.
Cocaine.
Yeah, cocaine. He moved down, I think, after this hit. He went to Miami, big recording studio down there. And like a lot of guys, he just burned out from, well, chasing what a lot of rock stars chase: money, tail, and drugs.
So they should just be rock stars should be addicted to like protein powder and
That's
and
no
health
fun,
food.
though. Yeah. I enjoy that. I could be happy eating the same things every day, and I'm not a drug guy, but I can understand the allure.
But there's musicians out there who do that, and they're able to still tour in their 60s and 70s.
Well, that's the beauty of it, right? For the ones who have taken care of themselves, like Daryl Hall still sounds great because he's done a good job over the years of taking care of his voice. Some
Bryan
guys
Adams
are
looks like he's in his 20s.
Brian Adams,
Yeah.
but he's like he takes that to an extreme. I think he's not a drug guy, vegan, and spends a lot of time exercising and working on his voice. And he still sounds great. I've only seen him in concert once. I think it was like 2004. He opened for Def Leppard. It was at PG Park. Were you at that show?
No. Bryan Adams was in Moda Center just last year, and he could run around the stage. He ran around the whole arena.
I think he had an affair with his nanny or something like that. His housekeeper or nanny, if I remember correctly.
And that's why he's still on tour. He has to pay off the divorce lawyers.
Who else did that? Was it Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Yeah. Yeah, his wife would go to work, and then the housekeeper would join him in bed while he's governor.
Some guys live a life that I can't even imagine. That's pretty good right there.
Only got caught because the kid looked had the same face as Arnold.
Oh, that he did. He impregnated her, didn't he?
Yeah. So the housekeeper's wife had a young boy that looked just like Arnold, and then he got caught.
But see, that's the mark of a good song. Like if you release a song and it hits the charts and then you re-release it or it's played again like 10 years later and it hits the charts again, that tells you it's a good song.
Yeah.
Good music, good songs will stand the test of time.
Motley Crue did that with Home Sweet Home. Released it a second time later in the decade. It was a bigger hit the second time around.
Here's what it says online about the music video to Into the Night. And if you haven't seen it, don't look it up, all right? It's creepy. And I wish I wouldn't have seen the video. There are certain things that I have seen that change the way I just don't want certain images in my mind when I'm trying to enjoy something I really enjoy.
MTV hid the music video from you, but everything comes back now with YouTube and other internet websites.
YouTube destroyed me. It says right here that Mardones made a music video for the song, but as it predated MTV by a year, it was not widely broadcast. Very fortunate there. It opens with Mardones walking down a street and approaching a house. The song plays over the video, and the lyrics serve as Mardones' monologue. He is met at the door by a bearded man who sings the opening line, "She's just 16 years old, leave her alone." Mardones walks to the back of the house, peering through a window at a young girl sitting sullenly in her room. The video then cuts to Mardones at a payphone speaking to the girl on the other end of the line and professing his love. The video cuts again to Mardones returning to the girl's house carrying a rolled-up carpet. He crawls through her bedroom window and unrolls the magic carpet as Mardones takes the girl's hand. They take flight into the night sky. And the video closes with Mardones serenading the girl as they embrace. The scene fades to black as they kiss. It sounds even worse when I read it compared to when I see it. It says right here, for many years, the video was difficult to find in its entirety, although clips were featured in infomercials for Time Life soft rock compilations. On July 2nd, 2016, a full version was uploaded to YouTube. Everything goes to YouTube at some point. And I've heard Mardones talk about this, that apparently, and again, he could be making this up. Maybe he's just a sicko. I don't know. But he seems pretty convincing that in the apartment complex he lived in, there was a girl. I think her mom, she lost her dad. Her mom had to work because she had multiple kids. So the life was difficult. And so he ended up, trying to help out the family and stuff. And that's what the song was about. But the video would indicate that, well, the video is just creepy. There's no other way to explain it. So I don't know. But that's what Mardones says, that it was taken out of context. 503-248-0620. That does not take away from the fact that the vocal performance on that song is pretty good. And there you go. I gave you useless information about Richard Marx. He first wrote a hit song for Kenny Rogers. What was his story on that? I'm trying to think of the song. I've got it on my playlist. I like Kenny Rogers personally. I think he's awesome. Rest in peace, Kenny. I grew up listening to Kenny Rogers. Like any of you, I think we're impacted a lot by the music that our parents listened to when we were kids. And my dad had this little two-door Toyota pickup. And it was like one of those Toyotas where it served all purpose. He could haul stuff. He could do this. He could do that. The truck was great until my brother and I crashed it in the backwoods of Oklahoma. I still owe my dad about 47 hours of manual labor for that little piece of activity, although I felt like I got railroaded a bit because I was not driving. My brother was. So anyways, my dad had the 8-track player inside of his Toyota truck. And when we'd take a trip out to Grandma's house, he had the Kenny Rogers greatest hits. And so we'd listen to songs together, and it was awesome. So the song Crazy, it was a big hit for Kenny. That was written by Richard Marx. And Richard said that he was a backup singer. So he started out, he was in the studio, he was a backup singer for Kenny Rogers. And he said he did the one thing that you're not supposed to do. He went up to Kenny without asking for permission. He's like, hey, I got an idea. And that's usually not the way you roll, but because Kenny Rogers is cool, Kenny's like, oh, yeah, well, let's get together. So Richard went home and put the finishing touches on the song, and he brought it back to Kenny, and Kenny's like, this is really good. And then, boom, he records the song, releases the song, it becomes a big hit for him on a crossover, and then that's how Richard Marx got things going. Those are the type of stories. Like, if you really want to know what I like, I love finding out the details behind the songs and the stories from artists. Like, in my free time, if you've ever wondered, and I doubt you have, because why would you? In my free time, which is rare, but more so now that we're out of season, like digging into YouTube is one of my favorite things. I really love watching old sporting events that I grew up that are important to me. Larry Bird, Kobe, MJ, John Elway. I like watching games, big college football moments, the actual games on YouTube. I think that's awesome. So sometimes when I'm in the mood, I'll watch a full-length game from when I was younger. And there are certain games that I can watch over and over again. I never get tired of. So I enjoy that. But I really enjoy pulling up live music videos, like bands that I enjoy, artists I like, doing performances at different periods, live versions throughout their career. But I really love the interviews. And what we're seeing now with social media, much like with athletes, these artists have a way of sharing their stories and talking about details that, you know, before we would have never had access to. But now you can open up Instagram or TikTok, YouTube, and you've got access to these artists. And so Richard Marx has been sharing a lot of stories about, you know, the different session musicians he played with, the songwriting, the music business and the evil side of it, which is pretty bad. Getting a record deal, working with different artists. And that's one thing I love about that period of time in the music biz where, you know, most of those great artists were all in LA and they were in the same studio. And so you'd be in there, you'd have big bands working on different things at the same time. And so you get to collaborate and work with different people. Like, I think that would be fascinating. But I love the story of how a song came to be. Sometimes it's planned. Sometimes it's very fortunate. Like the opening to a Sailing with Christopher Cross, which is, of course, a huge yacht rock song. That was a mistake. A total mistake, and the opening ended up being the opening the way it is. Like, I love that kind of stuff. And the YouTube web. You ever experience that? And then the algorithm and the technology web. You ever experience that? And then the algorithm and the technology on it's so wild because you start watching videos and then they start giving you suggestions and then you're done. Like, I just watched a great interview with Bruce Hornsby the other night. Like, I really love that guy. He's wildly talented. I got on that interview and I couldn't stop watching him. Before you know it, 90 minutes out the window, just like that. All right, 503-248-0620. If you have any useless information you'd like to share with me, 503-248-0620. If you couldn't care less about what I do in my free time, I understand. I guess what I would like to know is, like, is there a song where you know the backstory on it that you really like? Like, you love the story, and when you found out, you're like, wow. Like the story of Human Nature on the Thriller album with Michael Jackson. Like, I love that backstory and how Quincy Jones discovered it and it was put together by Steve Picaro. Like that story, I'll share that when we come back. Many of you know it, but it is awesome. And maybe these people, whoever put together the Michael Jackson biopic, they needed my help. They left some stuff out that, come on, man, be better. All right, we're going to revisit some of the comments by Dave Deckard yesterday. We'll do that next. But seriously, if you know a song or the backstory on a song that you really like, that you find interesting, let me know. 503-248-0620. You got the Rip City Drive. All right, Styles has just hit me up on X and said, Chad, Into the Night is a song about a bleeping pedophile. He's old and she's 16. That's possible. It might be. The music video does not do the song any credit. But coming up here a little bit later in the show, I will play a snippet of Mardones explaining the song. And then you can decide for yourself whether he's lying through his devil ass or if he's telling the truth. But yes, the song and the video is bad. The video is one of the worst. It might be the worst music video ever created. And there's been some bad ones, but that one's right near the top. In fact, I'll go as far as to say, Styles, that I have not seen a video creepier than that one. What I want to know is, like, would MTV have run that in its rotation? Maybe not back then. I don't know. But we'll hear from Mardones. You can decide for yourself. But the video, it's like, who thought that was a good idea? Do you ever wondered that, like, when it comes to certain, like, who was that? Was it the McDonald's CEO? Yeah, I think it was. Like, how don't these people have smart people to tell them what they should or should not be doing? Or like, at least some checks and balances. Be like, yeah, look, that video is not a good idea. Hey, Benny, we've taken a look at your idea for the video, and it makes you look like a creeper. So we're going to shut it down and go in a different direction with the video. Or, quite frankly, we're not going to do a video. Like, why would they put that out? And how could you not watch that and think that's a bad idea? But they did it. It's just like recently there were some videos popping up. I think it was the McDonald's CEO. And he's like testing, or I don't know, like he had some McDonald's food in front of him. And he's like eating it, and he looked so uncomfortable. It looked so bizarre. Like, where's the checks and balances? Why is someone not telling him, like, hey, sir, this video is not a good idea because you look like a complete knob right now talking about the food that you're supposed to love? I don't know. It amazes me sometimes. You would think that, especially with some of the big corporations or people with a lot of money, that they would have smart people around them to kind of guide them. Hey, this is a bad idea. This is a good idea. Do this. Don't do that. This video might make you look like a creeper. You may want to consider going in a different direction. I don't know. You would think they would have those type of people in their life, but some don't. Maybe some people are just crazy. I don't know. But we see these type of mishaps all the time. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. You can reach out to me. Whatever you want to talk about is fine by me. Hope you're enjoying your Wednesday afternoon. Had a good workout today. Feeling pretty good. All right, Dave Deckard, BlazersEdge.com. He joined me yesterday, and I wanted to find out a couple of different things. One, how do you know as a team when it's the right time to make a big move? You know, the Blazers are now sitting in a position where they could potentially go out and make a big move. Giannis is at the top of everyone's mind because Giannis played with Dame. Portland has a bunch of Milwaukee's picks that they may want back. And Portland's got some big contracts where they could potentially make the salary work. And they got some young pieces that Milwaukee may find of interest. So I asked Dave, like, how do you know? When is the time? This is what he had to say.
Well, the first question is one available? You can't fake a big move. You can make a big move for you. You can spend all your assets. The NBA will let you on something that improves you somewhat, and you say, this is our move. It doesn't mean it's the right one. It doesn't mean that's a transformational player. First, you have to ask, is that player available? And if that player is available, yeah, it's now the right time to try and go and get them. The other question, of course, is fit. You have to ask, like Giannis, obviously, is the big name out there right now. And he's a fantastic talent. No question, he would improve the Blazers. He would vault them into the discussion in the West. But he's 31. He's been more injured. His game is predicated on his athleticism. And so you start to ask, also the other thing is he's got a single year left on his contract until he can opt out. You have to start to ask a lot of questions about that. Yeah, is that a huge move? It sure is. Is that huge move a fit with your franchise right now? And are you going to be able to prosper from it? That's a completely different issue. So you have to be careful not to fool yourself about these things and say, well, I did something that looks like a big swing, but actually it's my only big swing. It's not going to work out, and now I lost all my assets for what ends up being not an effective trade.
All right. In addition to that, we also talked a little bit more about Giannis. My concern about Giannis, it's not that he's not a great player. He is, but he's 31 years of age. His game is predicated on athleticism. And the question would be, how many elite years does he have left in his body? And Dave expanded on that thought.
Well, the big thing is, can you get a couple? Again, he can opt out after next year. The only thing that you have guaranteed is next season. Unless that changes.
Well, real quick. Yes, the only thing you would have guaranteed is next season. There's no way the Blazers make a move for Giannis unless he agrees to re-up and re-sign here in Portland. You would need assurances that would take place because you're not going to sacrifice your assets, and it would require quite a few, multiple draft picks and players to get Giannis. You're not going to do that if he's not going to be willing to or gives you assurances he's going to sign a new deal.
Unless that changes, I don't think you can make that your big and only swing. Because if the player can say, I want to go play in L.A. or something, or play for someone who's closer to a championship, you've just spent all your assets and now you have nothing, right?
Yes.
If he would either guarantee he's going to opt in or the Blazers can renegotiate with him, whatever it takes. If he's here for 3 or 4 years, I think you do consider doing that because you're never going to get a more top-level talent. It may require you to rebuild the rest of your roster because what you need around Giannis, and assuming you didn't trade Denny to get him, you need shooters around those guys. You don't have any. So now you begin a major retooling, but the Blazers can do that, and it's worth it if he's staying for the next 3 or 4 seasons. If he's not, then, again, all that work is for 1 year, one shot. You probably can't get it done in that time frame anyway, and by the time you do get it done, there's a good chance he's going to be gone. You cannot make that move.
All right. In addition to that, yeah, so you're not going to make a move for Giannis unless he agrees to re-up and you get those assurances because it wouldn't make sense to have him for 1 year and you sacrifice all those assets. But that's my main concern with Giannis. We're seeing some of the wear and tear, and he's 31. That's problematic. I don't know how many more elite years you can get from Giannis, but I'm still investigating the whole matter. I mean, you got a chance to get someone like that, you simply have to look into it. Now, the other question I ask him is like, if the Blazers don't go big game hunting, and let's say they come back next year as is, aren't you going to have to make a move to consolidate with so many guys in the backcourt? Dame's coming back. I would assume he's starting. You've got Drew Holiday. He was very productive for the Blazers down the stretch. But yet you also have 2 young guards in Scoot and Shaden that need to play. I mean, can you bring those 4 guys back? Like, what's up with that?
Yeah, of course. You need to sort that out, especially if you're going to go with Scoot long term, because Drew Holiday and Damian Lillard are right in his runway. I mean, Scoot, if you keep him, you believe he's ready to take off over the next couple years. Unless he can get the space to get off the ground, that's not going to happen. So I think at least one of those guards need to go. Obviously, it's not going to be Dame. He has a no-trade contract, for gosh sake. So it's going to be Drew. Now, I think the Blazers would rue losing Drew. They go backwards right now, at least a little bit. But if you're going to bank on Scoot, then that's probably what you have to do. But if you don't believe Scoot is the guy, then you need to move on, and it's better to move on sooner than later. That may not mean trading Scoot right now. Same thing with Shaden Sharp, by the way. You may not have to move them right at this instant, but you start building as if they are not the answer. You start building around your other players. You start scheming to make that next move, and you figure at some point we're going to move these guys. This is starting to become a really viable discussion for another reason, too. It is a different NBA than it was 20 years ago. 20 years ago, the people who are winning championships are 28, 29, 30 years old.
Yep.
That's the mature part of your prime, and you're going, well, that's what we're shooting for. Look at who's winning championships today. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, all those people, right? They are 24, 25, 26. The Trailblazers' young players are starting to enter into that zone. I'm not saying they have to win a title right now, but if you are looking at an immeasurable distance between Shaden Sharp and Scoot Henderson and an NBA championship, and you can't figure out how to get from point A to point B. Age is no longer a justification for that because other players of that age are doing that. At that point, you go, you know what? We've got young guys, but they might not be the right guys. We need to reset somehow.
All right. One more thing from Dave. I asked him about the value of playing a dominant opponent in the postseason. I think we're seeing this with a couple of teams. The Blazers got San Antonio in round one. And when you play a team like that, it puts you under the microscope. So I think you come out of that having a clear understanding of what you need, what you don't have, improvements, areas where you got to focus on. And for the Blazers, they talked about it in the exit interviews that they need to find guys who can make shots from downtown. Also, the Lakers, they had a pretty good year, but then they show up against Oklahoma City in the postseason and get smoked in 4 games. Is there value in playing a team that puts you under the microscope so you have a very clear idea of who you are and who you're not?
Well, I think it's different for the Blazers than the Lakers. The Lakers are a much more developed team. They have a lot more star power. When you have LeBron James on your team, you have a lot of known factors. Their problems were a little bit roster construction, but a lot injuries. I think they have to figure out what to do with Austin Reeves and Luka Doncic. That might not be a viable championship backcourt. They're going to have to resolve that this year because Reeves has contract things coming up. And I think from that standpoint, there wasn't much doubt going in that Oklahoma City was better. The Lakers need to do something. They already knew that. For the Blazers, I think the Spurs were a decent litmus test. I think we're seeing now that the Spurs aren't invulnerable. They are similarly young. Yes, they have a transcendent talent in Victor Wembanyama, but there are ways around that. The Blazers couldn't get around that, and the Spurs were decidedly better. Their young players are decidedly better. There are reasons for that. Obviously, they got higher draft picks than the Blazers did, but I think it does send Portland back to the drawing board in a way that the Lakers don't have to do. The Blazers have to add some major talent before they're able to stand up to some of the Western Conference contenders. And I think that the postseason may have been a reality check for that. I know they were hoping for a little more success, but, it didn't come, and that's reality. They don't have a draft pick this year. That's also reality. So they're going to have to pull some rabbits out of hats in order to figure out how to make that next step.
All right. Big thanks to Dave Decker. Let's go out to the phones. Let's go to Nopo. Mike in North Portland wants to chat. Mike, what's on your mind? Welcome to the Rip City Drive.
Chad, I was all in on a Giannis trade, bigger name trade for a while, but man, I don't know. I really don't know if we got to retool everything and tear it down to the studs after all this pain we just went through and just pray that Giannis stays healthy. Is that the right move? So I have myself asking, if not Giannis, then who else? And I think there's some guys out there that could be the kind of guys you need to hit on that could be got. And the first name that comes to mind, I don't know if he is available. I think he is. Michael Porter Jr. hanging out there in Brooklyn all by himself. I thought about that guy. I don't know, Chad. That's really the only thought I had. Just thought I'd share.
No, I appreciate it. Yeah, I wouldn't consider Michael Porter Jr. to be like a big name guy. I would say for me, if you want to look at other big names, not named Giannis, I would think Kevin Durant. I can't imagine that they're not headed for a divorce down in Houston because it ended so badly. And you had the whole situation with the burner phones, the burner accounts where he was cracking teammates and stuff. And you got a young squad down there that you're trying to bring together and get to the next level. So if Kevin Durant were to become available, you'd probably get him at a better price. And he's still incredibly productive. And I like that he is a big-time shooter. So he would fit a role and a need for this team. Also, the reason why I think Kevin Durant would be a good fit in Portland is that he's not a leader of men. And in Portland, you would have defined, leadership in the locker room. It's Dame's locker room. Denny Avdia. If Drew Holiday was still here, you would have Drew Holiday. You got strong leadership in other guys, so Durant can just focus on doing what he does best, which is hooping. So maybe Kevin Durant, if he and the Rockets are headed for a divorce, and they quite possibly could be. The only other name out there, Kawhi Leonard, maybe. And we'll see. I'm not opposed to the Blazers going big game hunting. I'm just a little cautious on Giannis because of the age and some of the wear and tear that we're seeing now with his body. For what you're going to have to give up, the question is how much more can you get out of him now that he's 31 years of age moving forward? I think that's a very good question. And I don't know the answer to that. I'm not even sure if he knows the answer to that. But Giannis is unique because he's so long and so athletic. If his game wasn't so predicated on athleticism, maybe I wouldn't think so much about the wear and tear. Some guys age better in the NBA than others based on how their game is set up. Like Jokic is a guy who will continue to age well because his game is not predicated on athleticism. He's got all the tricks of the trade, the footwork, the shot making. He doesn't move at lightning speed pace. He doesn't need to play above the rim. And the other issue with Giannis is that he doesn't shoot the ball particularly well. So that is problematic. But defensively, with him on the floor, you improve instantly because he's so good. And he's a matchup nightmare. And he can cause havoc in the paint. I mean, I'm not knocking on Giannis. Don't get me wrong. He is one of the best players in the world. But 31 years of age is 31 years of age. Maybe what you do is you get Giannis with LeBron's doctors, and then you can find a way to rediscover the fountain of youth there. All right, we'll keep things rolling. Rip City Drive. Chad Doing with you on this Wednesday. If you got any thoughts, you want to reach out, 503-248-0620 here on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. All right, I didn't know when I came into the studio today we are going to be talking about Benny Mardones at 1980 and 1989. It's pretty impressive. At 1980 and 1989. It's pretty impressive. Now, as I mentioned, the music video is one of the creepiest things I've ever seen with my own eyes. And as my man Styles said, the song is about a bleeping pedophile. He's old and she's 16. Well, here is Benny Mardones in an interview talking about the song and how it came to be. So let's take a listen to Benny. To be fair, we'll get his be what I love. I love stories about why songs were written, how they came to be, what inspired. I love stories about why songs were written, how they came to be, what inspired the song, especially ones that turn out to be hits, which are very interesting. But here's Benny Mardones himself talking about the song Into the Night.
Well, I was living in Spanish Harlem on Riverside Drive in Manhattan. And in my building was a family, a husband and wife and 3 children, 3 kids, 17, 16, and 15. And I was sort of like the resident rock star from having the first album out, Thank God for Girls, back in '77 on Private Stock Records. Hadn't written Into the Night yet, which became, of course, my signature song. We'd see the kids around the building, kids that were teenagers, and everything was cool. And my son's mother was friends with the family, So one day, I get a knock on my door. I open it up, and all 3 of the kids were crying, and they were there. And I said, "My God, come in! What happened? What happened?" And the 17-year-old girl, she said, "Our father left my mother and ran off with another woman in the chorus line of the show." He was a struggling set designer on Broadway, and he landed a major show. And instead of coming home to his family and saying, "Our ship has come in, we're going to move out of here, go to Westchester, get a house, or have a better life," he decided to run off with some 24-year-old girl in the chorus line and left the family destitute. And I put my arms around them all 3, and I said, "Everything's going to be all right. Everything's going to be all right. I promise you." Of course, I didn't have any idea how everything was going to be all right, but it just broke my heart. And so what I did was I gave them each a job. I told Sean, who was the boy, after school every day, you come to my house, and you can run an errand for me. And I'd give him a $20 bill every day to go up and get me half a gallon of milk or a pack of cigarettes or something like that, just a reason for him to go. And when he came home, I would always let him keep the change. And that way he had about $50 a week in his pocket. And this is back in '79, so $50 a week for a kid in school, 15 was pretty good money, Mm-hmm. And the older daughter, I paid her to come every Saturday and clean my apartment, and I'd give her $50. But the 16-year-old girl was named Heidi, and she was the most devastated because she was Daddy's little girl. And she was just devastated at what had happened. And I felt so bad for her. And I said, "Look, Heidi, I'm up all night. I sleep late because I was sort of living the life of a rock star, even though I wasn't a rock star. I was just starting to make records, really. And I said, here's my key. Every day before school, you open the apartment door, take my basset hound, Zanky Albo Rubadoo, who's been on 2 or 3 albums and inner sleeve pictures and stuff. He was a famous basset hound in rock and roll for a while. I said, you take Zanky out for a walk in the morning, let him do his business, come back, feed him, and then go to school, and I'll give you $50 a week for doing that. So the kids were like kind of holding it together. They had money in their pockets so they could buy things for school and things like that, just things that teenagers need. And I had such disgust with the father that I think if I could have found him and I had somebody from Miami have a sit down with him, I was that upset. I mean, just really, how can you do that, man? When Into the Night hit for me, first thing I did was pay off my mother's house, take care of my sister and my family so that they were taken care of, And so this guy did just the opposite. And so one night, Robert Tepper and I were up writing songs, and it was really about a week before we were leaving for Miami to cut the first big album, which was Never Run, Never Hide. Bobby kept playing the chords changes, and we tried 18 melodies and 30 kind of lyrics, and all of a sudden the key in the door turned, and I said, oh my God, it's daylight, because we like to keep the blinds down. And in she walks, 16 years old, dressed for school, back in those days, mini skirt, little stacked heels, adorable, 16 going on 21 kind of. And she said, you've been up all night? And of course it was obvious. And I said, yeah, we have. And she says, okay, come on, Zanky. And she walks the dog out. When she goes out the door, my partner goes, oh my God. I said, hey, pal, she's just 16 years old. Leave her alone.
All right, there you go. That is the explanation from Benny Mardones on how the song came to be. Now, the video is awful. Like I said, they should not have done that video. But that seems like a fairly reasonable explanation and story behind the song. Does it not, Michael?
Yeah, it's just the 80s, the 70s. That's what was going on then. Or maybe he was just playing a character in the video. It wasn't him. It was just him pretending to be someone.
Yeah, but who plays the character of a pedophile if you're not actually that? The video is creepy. I can't explain the video, but I've seen a lot of videos that I can't explain from that time frame. Crazy videos. A lot of the stuff that came out in the early 80s when music videos became a thing were really bizarre.
I just like that people back then were thinking, oh, no one will see this video, not being able to predict the future and how any video that exists is available for anyone out there to view.
The internet is a crazy place. The YouTube's amazing. Like, you can literally find just about anything and everything you could possibly want. Old commercials, old TV shows, music videos, live performances, games, you name it. It's all there.
Videos of whales exploding on the beach.
That's true.
There's great stuff out there. That was according to Paul Inman, that was the number one streamed video on the internet, according to some people in England. So he's been going.
Whale exploding.
Yeah.
That is a great video, too. Like, those chunks of whale, they're thunderous, man.
Yeah, it was like probably one of the early viral videos because it got out there early on.
Do you like the song Into the Night?
It's a good song. It's part of. I started liking the song because I got into like the yacht rock type music and that playlist. So I liked the song before I saw the video. I saw the video the day Benny died back in 2020 because it was in an article. It was embedded to the article. So I watched it for the first time basically hours after he passed away and was disgusted by it.
Yes.
I couldn't believe such a thing existed.
I had the same reaction. I was like, what the heck is this? And why did you make this? Because that's a very reasonable explanation of the story behind the song, and yet you made that video. I don't know. Then again, if you're on drugs, you do crazy things, right? I'm assuming.
Art. It was art back then. That's how it was looked upon.
All right, 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. Hope you're enjoying your Wednesday. If you want to jump on board, 503-248-0620. You get your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. All right, it's now 5 o'clock. NBA playoffs continue tonight. Coming up in a few minutes, we got a pivotal Game 5 in Detroit, Cavs and Pistons. Detroit favored by 4. That series all tied up at 2. Cleveland still searching for their first road win this postseason. The NFL schedule will drop tomorrow at 5. Broncos at the Chiefs in the first Monday Night Football game, September 14th. Packers and Rams will be the first Thanksgiving Eve game on Wednesday night. The Portland Fire got their first win last night, 98-96 over the Liberty. Sarah Ashley Barker with a bucket at the buzzer to secure the win. Checking the Major League scoreboard, the Mariners are going to be in action tonight. First pitch in Houston against the Astros at 5:10. Miller and McCullers, your pitching matchup right now. A couple of games in action. Pirates lead the Rockies 3-zip, middle of 4. Reds a 6-5 lead over the Nationals, top of the 4th in Cincinnati. And the Phillies and Red Sox tied up at 1 in Boston, top of 6. All right, Rob Sivsky, who is a fine musician himself, chimed in. And this goes back to the creepy video for the song Into the Night by Benny Mardones. He said there are many times that the video is made by the record label without the artist's involvement. This makes the director the creep, creating that visual interpretation, not the music. And there's a good chance the musician only saw it when it was done. At that point, you'd be up against the wall with a video ready to be released, and approval would be implied. You'd have to be like Michael Jackson or T. Swift to have enough clout to tell him to scrap it. For example, the first album I ever released, someone else hired a photographer, did some post-processing, and showed it to us when it was done. We had no input except approval or start over. We never even met the 6 women from the photo shoot, and he just sent me a picture of the cover on the CD. That's very interesting. You're right. You know, artists often, especially back in the day, didn't have any type of power. All right, let's go out to Estacada. Estacada, Brandon, what's up? What's on your mind? Fire away.
Hey, Chad. I grew up in the 80s, and I've never seen that video, so it sounds like it's something I want to skip, not see.
Yeah, I would say that if you're on YouTube, do not put in music video Into the Night, or you'll see it and you'll be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they made that. Wild.
Funny. So, yeah, you guys were talking about the trades, kind of what, is going on with Giannis, and it sounds like he wants to probably end up in the Eastern Conference is what it sounds like. He doesn't want to come to the Western Conference, but, I'm not really of the opinion that I want to bring on any more aging superstars onto the Blazers. I think we've got enough of that with Dame and Drew, and I feel like I'd like somebody a little bit more in their prime. I know that one of the trades that was floated around during the trade deadline was Giannis to New York, and the Blazers potentially getting maybe Cat and Bridges, and we send Jeremy Grant and a lot of our picks, their Milwaukee picks back, maybe a couple of ours in return, or maybe a player. But something like that sounds a little bit more palatable to me, just because both Cat and Bridges can shoot the three. Another one is the Celtics possibly being interested in trading Jaylen Brown and getting Giannis, and I would be very happy with getting a star like Jaylen Brown, even though his contract is pretty hefty. in the process. But something like that, we're more the facilitator in the Giannis trade, and it sounds like the Bucks want to kind of get that wrapped up by the draft night, is what I'm hearing. So,
those are great thoughts, and I really appreciate the phone call, my friend. That's Brandon out in Estacada. So I would say, I agree. I don't want to bring in an aging superstar. So the more I think about Giannis, I love Giannis, but at 31 and a lot of miles on his body, I'm a little concerned about that, especially when you consider the price tag and what you're going to have to give up. Jaylen Brown, I'd do in a heartbeat. That guy's awesome. Great player, durable, and would fit nicely into what the Blazers have. And he's a great defender, versatile. He can do a lot of different things. Dave Deckard was intrigued by the idea of Karl Anthony Towns as well. Cat has rediscovered himself over the last few weeks in New York. He is on fire. They're using him as a facilitator. He obviously can shoot the basketball. Not the best defender, but he's good. He's a real good player. But I do like Jaylen Brown a lot. And we talked to Keith Smith, who is based out of Boston last week, and he said that he definitely thinks there's a possibility that Jaylen Brown could be dealt. Now, it's hard to get a deal like that done. Maybe it takes multiple teams. But again, here's what's cool about the Blazers situation. Because of the assets they have acquired, the draft picks, the veteran players, the contracts, and young players, they are now in a position to where they can be a player in multiple deals that might get tossed around out there. They have assets to be able to step up and be a part of something, which is great. But you have to be wise in those decisions, because once you sacrifice future assets that can be valuable, you better make sure you're making the right move for your team moving forward. And we'll find out real quick about Tom Dundon, how aggressive he wants to be, how he sees his team and what he wants to do. How is he averse to risk? Is he willing to roll the dice? These are all great questions. I can't wait to find out. Pumped. Game 5, Cavs, Pistons, getting ready to tip off. The game's on ESPN. And the winner of Game 5, when the series tied at 2, as you know, 82% of the time the winner of Game 5 in those situations goes on to win the series, so it's obviously critical. Now, we're going to have a sweet situation on Friday night. We got the doubleheader. 4 o'clock, Pistons at the Cavs, Game 6. And then 6:30, Spurs at the Timberwolves, Game 6. So there'll be a Game 6 Friday night doubleheader. So a lot of good things going on. I have not been to Little Caesars Arena. Travis told me that it's pretty awesome. I've been to Detroit once. I went a couple of years ago. Had a chance to check it out. Great city, much better than I thought, because I heard a lot of bad things. Bumped around downtown. Ford Field looks cool. They've got the baseball stadium. They've got the arena for the Pistons. They got everything they need right there. It's a good sports town. Great sports town. So big game tonight. I guess my questions, and they're honoring Brandon Clark and Jason Collins right now before the game. And Collins, I think, was it Jason or was it his brother? Let's see here. Jason Collins. I think I get him and his brother mixed up. So his brother, Jaron, so Jason just passed away. His twin brother, Jaron, was an assistant with the Golden State Warriors. He actually lived in the same apartment complex I did when I was living in the Bay Area. So I would see Jaron often. We would pass by each other when we were going down to the parking garage. And where I lived in Emeryville was very easy access to the freeway to get down to the arena. Very close. So I'd see Jaron all the time. But Jason just passed away. And Brandon Clark, I think they believe it was a drug overdose, just 29 years of age. I asked Brendan yesterday, how old are you? He goes, 30. 29 is awful young. So I guess what I'm looking for tonight, the Cavs, obviously very dynamic at home. What I want to know is, will both Donovan Mitchell and James Harden be able to create the matchups they want and get to their spots to create problems for the Detroit defense tonight on the road? They have not been able to do it on the road so far in the postseason. And then with the Pistons, over the last couple of games on the road in Cleveland, Cade Cunningham had to work awful hard just to get to his spots and he had to take a lot of tough contested jumpers. Like, what type of wrinkles are we going to see from Detroit that will free up Cade Cunningham? And then, like it is with a lot of these playoff games, which team's going to be able to make the threes? Cleveland unable to make threes in the first 2 games, even though they had some open looks. Detroit unable to make the shots in games 3 and 4. The interesting part is that Cleveland went on a 24-0 run in game 4. Between the second and third quarter, they still only won the game by 9 points. It's been a very close game. I think overall scoring, they're separated by like 4 points. So it's a very highly contested, close series. And the Knicks right now just sitting back, waiting, relaxing, just waiting to see what pops. They've got no pressure on them. And it's going to be good for them to get the rest that they need because OG Anunoby was banged up with the ankle, or was it a hamstring? He's got the leg issue. And so the rest is valuable. Same thing with Oklahoma City. Coming off the series against the Lakers, now they have a chance to sit back. We could be looking at 2 potential 7-game series in terms of length for both the East and the West. And that means the Knicks and Oklahoma City will continue to get rest. Now, if you're the Knicks right now, I'm not sure you want rest because they've been playing such great basketball. I mean, I'm always going to take rest and health over everything else. But the Knicks right now are the hottest team in basketball. And when you're in a groove like that and you're playing so well, I mean, it's a little nerve-wracking when you're put into a position to where you wonder if that rest is going to create a little bit of rust or maybe take you out of your rhythm. I don't know. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. But these games now, what's great is you get to game 5. All the teams are familiar with each other. They know the matchups they're looking for. And it gets real contentious. And I thought last night, I wasn't sure what to expect from the Wolves and Spurs after the events of game 4 with the elbow by Wemby. But both teams played a good, hard, clean game. And I guess what I like is you can tell by hearing from the Wolves and the Spurs, there's a mutual respect for one another, which I like. So there's a lot of good things going on. But it's interesting when you look at these teams, you get a good idea of where Portland's at and what they need. They've got to get guys who can make more shots, and they need to continue to get more versatile with their defense. And they're showing the outside picture of Detroit in the downtown area. I didn't realize it until I was there that, there's a bridge, short bridge that goes over, and all of a sudden, boom, you're right in. I think it's Windsor. So they're right there on the border. It's that close. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. NFL schedule going to drop tomorrow at 5. I can't wait. Get a chance to get the Broncos schedule and see what's cracking, where the games are slotted. Saturday and September getaway weekends. Shacker informed me he's not going to Journey because it's on a Saturday in September, which weekends. Shacker informed me he's not going to Journey because it's on a Saturday in September, which means it'll be right in the middle of the start of football season. That's bad for you, Shaq Daddy.
Yeah, there's a big Beavers-Montana non-conference football game. So maybe if they kick off at 11 a.m.
Where's that game at? Is it in Corvallis?
Reeser. Yeah, so I was trying to think, how early can a game be so I could take in a football game and a concert on the same day?
It could be a 12:30 start, 1 o'clock start.
Yeah, with post-game and driving, cutting it close.
Or they're going to make it a night game and you're totally punked.
Yeah, or move the game to Friday. How do we do that? Do you
That's
have any
true.
contacts to make that happen?
I'll try. I'll see if I can pull a few strings for you.
Yeah, like the new and improved Pac-12 network will need a Friday night game. Come on,
true.
You can't beat Oregon State versus Montana Grizzlies.
All right, you got the Rip City Drive. Chad Doing here on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. All right, I've got a dilemma that was brought to my attention that I need your help on. So my nephew, Cole, is graduating from high school. My brother's son, and of course, my brother passed away in December with cancer. So the question that we're trying to figure out is, what's the appropriate amount to give cash-wise for someone who is going to be going through their graduation? That's the question. Is it $100? Is it $200? Like, what's the appropriate number? So if you got any ideas, text me or send me a message at Chad and Rip City on social media. Just want to make sure my nephew's taken care of. I heard my mom told me that he's doing okay. He's still, a little bit quiet. Doesn't talk a lot about, my brother passing, losing his dad, which is tough. But I know he's doing well. So, we'll see how things go. But what's the appropriate number for a graduation? $100? $200? What's the right number? So if you got any ideas, let me know. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. The Game 5 Pistons and Cavs is underway in Detroit at Little Caesars Arena. Right now it's 9-4 Pistons in a highly contested game early on, and a defensive type game, as you might expect, with two teams that have been very physical. That's one thing I like about playoff basketball. I don't want guys trying to decapitate one another with elbows, but I do like the physicality of the game. I'm not really proud of the officials for picking and choosing what physicality they're going to allow. But, it's just like anything else with the playoffs, whether it's NFL, NBA, NHL. NHL's on a different level, but the intensity in the gameplay is just so much better than the regular season. They're showing a preview right now for The Mandalorian and Grogu. That movie's going to come out on the 22nd. You can see it as early as the 21st, which is a Thursday night. I've got tickets for it, so I'm looking forward to that. Shacker's still undecided if he's going to go to the theater to watch it or if he's going to wait until it hits at home.
You remember when episode 1 of Star Wars came out in 99? People would line up to see that movie months in advance.
Yeah.
Well, that's a.
I was part of the line.
Oh, how early did you line up?
Early. I was there probably about 90 minutes to 2 hours before the movie started because I wanted to get a good seat.
But people were there 90 days before it came out just to be in line so they could be first.
Well, there comes a point where
that made no sense.
I'll wait 90 minutes or 2 hours, but I'm not going to be a nerd and wait for 2 weeks, right? There's a point where you have to draw the line. I'm not dressing up in Jedi gear and hanging out at a theater for 2 weeks because there are certain things like if you do that, you're a loser. Like I know right away that you are mental.
I'm so glad you said nerd, though. That reminds me, Ogre of Revenge of the Nerds passed away today.
That's right.
Nerds.
Those are good movies. If you're from the 80s, and again, Nerds is one of those movies that my mom was not okay with that movie for some of the subject matters, so me and my buddy Jason had to sneak that one into the house and watch it. And it's harder to sneak a VHS tape in, right?
Yeah, what gets you in trouble? Was it the nudity or just the themes in the movie?
The language and the nudity. Booger. Basically anything Booger was doing got me in trouble.
It probably meant a lot to see that at your age, but compared to these days, it's pretty clean compared to what's out there on the internet.
Yeah, compared to what's out there today, but that's not saying much as we continue to the way our society continues to go. Yeah, there's a lot. The internet is filled with all sorts of awful stuff. That's why you got to be very cautious when your kids enter the online experience. A lot of things out there that can be very bad. We didn't have, you know what it was like when we were growing up. Like if you wanted to see like, nudie magazines, it was like, remember what they'd have like at the 7-Eleven or like wherever it was at, it was like behind like, they had those tinted things that were in front of it and it was in the store. And so if you went back there, everyone knew what you were doing. Like you were filled with shame.
Oh, I remember the magazines being behind the counter. So if you actually wanted one, you have to have the clerk grab it for you.
Yeah, that's embarrassing. Hey, can I get I need a issue of the Hustler. Can you hand that to me?
And I don't want the issue in the front. Can you grab one in the back? Hopefully it hasn't been touched yet.
Yeah, that's embarrassing. Yeah, I'm not doing that. Like, even young Chad might be curious, but I'm not asking someone to hand me a Hustler. Because as soon as you ask for it, they right away, they're like, okay, perv. Here you go, moron. Yeah, I don't want to do that. There was certain shame involved. But now with online, everything's just, couple of clicks away. Everything's too easy. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. 9-7 Pistons with 6:40 to go in that first quarter. And as I mentioned, there's going to be a bit of a break for the Timberwolves and Spurs. Game 6 in that series back in Minneapolis will be on Friday. Game 6 of this series will be on Friday as well. So we'll get a doubleheader on Friday with these two series. And then the rest, we'll just sit back, and the Knicks and the Thunder will sit back and wait and see who their opponents are going to be. But that type of rest it's valuable, and that's why teams, are encouraged to handle their business. Don't screw around. Don't mess around. Boston screwed around, and they ended up getting into a Game 7. They had a guy get hurt, and then all of a sudden, boom, you wind up in trouble. Another player I've enjoyed watching, Dennis Schroeder. He's been very good in the postseason. Shot creation for the Cavs. But Donovan Mitchell and James Harden, great at home. I just want to see what they do tonight. And Donovan Mitchell, he's a fun player to watch. He's strong. He's got great handles, can get to his spot. And his shot making in Game 4 was pretty wild. But the atmosphere, too. Atmosphere in Cleveland's been good. Atmosphere in Minnesota and San Antonio. Like, San Antonio was on fire last night. I just can't believe how good Wemby played. 16 points in the first. I mean, he was on fire. He lit a fire under them right from the start. So you're seeing, his impact is so tremendous. And last night he was getting it done on the offensive end. So it's pretty impressive. And what the Cavs have done, too, they didn't play well in the games 1 and 2 in Detroit, and then they go back home and kind of find themselves, and now they've evened up the series. And you get to Game 5 tied up at 2. It's a matter of just, we're just 3-game series. Who can handle business from here? 503-248-0620 is your telephone number there. Big question, too. James Harden. He played pretty well in Games 3 and 4. He's had a history of playoff failures. Can he come through tonight on the road? I think there's big question marks there. Jalen Duren's been struggling big time, mightily. But this is a low-scoring game here. 9-8 with 5:35 to go in the first quarter. So 9 international games in the NFL this year. That's a record. I'm not a fan of the international games. I don't like teams having to give up home games to go play overseas. I understand why the NFL is doing it, but I think it's crazy. So I'm not a big fan. I am happy that the Broncos, they announced that opening game in Kansas City on Monday night is going to be, it's on the road. I would much rather catch Kansas City at home early where Patrick Mahomes either won't be playing or is just coming back, so he's not going to be quite 100% compared to going to Arrowhead late in the season in December. The later you get in the year, the harder it's going to be to play at Arrowhead. So I'm happy the Broncos are catching them early. And I want Patrick Mahomes to be well. He's one of my favorite players to watch, where he's got a handle on the quarterback position. But I want him to be healthy. I want to see him out there. I want all the stars to be able to play. That's what it's all about. All right, so tie game now, 11-11, Pistons and Cavs. This is going to be a low-scoring defensive battle, isn't it? But you can tell why I tell you, like, I joke around talking about how I hate the Spurs. I'm just jealous that they've had so much fortune in the lottery. Why can't the Blazers have that type of luck? I mean, to strike it rich the way they have multiple times and to get the type of players that they have, it's pretty impressive. So, I don't know. I'm impressed. Wemby's just amazing. Like, he was really awesome last night. And so I just keep wondering, like, as he continues to go, as he continues to get deeper in his career and he develops, some go-to moves and a better feel for everything that he wants to accomplish, how deadly is he going to be, right? I mean, that's really what I'm wondering. And with Anthony Edwards, he's like, he just put it very simply last night. He's like, look, he's doing things that we have no answer for.
A couple games now in a row with slow starts to the game. You guys have kind of been digging out of a hole at the start. What do you think has been going on just at the start?
I mean, tonight, some of the stuff that Wemby was doing, you don't really have too much of an answer for it. Just kind of hope he misses. But he came out high. He made a bunch of shots. I feel like we adjusted, fought back in the game. Tried to dig ourselves out of the hole, but I mean, eventually they created another league and running out in transition. We got to get back, get matched up. Just game plan mistakes that we keep making, and it's too late in the series to make these mistakes.
Yeah, I love that honest assessment. He's like, hey, first off, we're making too many mistakes that we shouldn't be making, but also the stuff that Wemby's doing, there's no answer for it. That's the scary part. And he's young in his career. What's it going to be like when he gets better? And we've seen that with all the star players, or at least the ones I've seen in my lifetime. What they do is they get deeper into the career. They all develop like a better feel and understanding of the game. It starts to slow down for them. They work on their game during the offseason and develop their go-to moves, and they just become more deadly. We saw that with Magic, with Larry, with Michael. All the greats have done the same thing over the course of time. They just get better with the nuances of the game, which is tough. Like, I'm enjoying watching Cade Cunningham right now. He's been terrific, as he continues to add to his game. There's a lot of good young stars in the NBA, a lot of good players. So the league's going to be fine moving forward. There's no question about it. So I just think Wemby is, it's too early to tell. He's got a chance to go down as one of the all-time greats if he stays healthy. And that's a big if. We got to see if he can stay healthy. Can he continue to play, throughout the course of the year? And if he's durable enough and stays healthy, then he's gonna go down as one of the all-timers. But the problem is, it's not like a team's going to discover another, 7'5" guy. I mean, there's really no answer out there for Wemby. It's not like those guys grow on trees, right? So it's like, I don't know what you do. It's crazy. So we'll see. Cavs have battled back. They have a 2-point lead at 21-19 and a timeout on the floor with 2:55 to go first quarter. So this is probably going to be close the entire way through. Cavs and Pistons from Detroit. And I guess who am I pulling for now? And not Oklahoma City, not San Antonio. I guess of the teams remaining, I'll probably just pull for the Knicks. The Knicks or the Pistons. I'll pull for an Eastern Conference team. I can't get behind one of the Western Conference teams, Oklahoma City or San Antonio, although I think Oklahoma City is going to win the title. But I'll pull for the Knicks. I like some of their guys. Jalen Brunson's cool. I like Cat. Anunoby and Bridges are terrific players, versatile players. So I'll pull for the Knicks. I kind of like the way they play. They got a certain togetherness to them. They play with a lot of energy, which I enjoy. So I'll pull for them. I mean, obviously, I want Minnesota to do well, but I just don't think they're going to be able to get out of this series against San Antonio. Would not surprise me if they force a Game 7, but, we'll see how things play out. But the Knicks, man, they're playing well. I just don't know how any of these teams, San Antonio can match up and give trouble to Oklahoma City. But whether it's the Cavs, Pistons, or Knicks, I just don't think there's a team that can match up with Oklahoma City. And we saw it against the Lakers, right? They've done such a great job of drafting and picking players. And they've got the star power with Shai Gilgeous. Chet Holmgren is a great two-way player. And Hartenstein has been an underrated performer for them. His passing, his rebounding, some of the rim protection he provides, it's a pretty valuable tool, a lot like Portland having Klingon and Robert Williams III. They got Hartenstein and Chet Holmgren. But no matter where they go, and what that does for Shai Gilgeous is that because of the depth and the different guys who can step up to make shots, he doesn't have to feel that pressure to where he's got to go out and put up 30-plus every night. And that's a big advantage because they've done such a good job. And they're pretty unselfish where if A.J. Mitchell's got it going or Jalen Williams or somebody else, they're happy to share the rock and get out of the way. And I like that. I like teams that are unselfish, that are willing to let other guys step up if they have a night where they got it going, which is a good thing. You want to see that kind of stuff. So, but Oklahoma City should win the title. They're heavily favored to do so. I don't think any team, Detroit, Cleveland, or New York, can compete with them from the East. And San Antonio, my guess would be they'll provide a stiff test, but this is where we talk about the inexperience. If that's going to show up, it would be in a series against Oklahoma City. And once a team has been there and done that and has won a championship, they're going to have advantages experience-wise in certain situations. The understanding of what it takes, how to get the job done, and in those spots where coming out of a timeout, inbound situations, I would expect the Oklahoma City execution to be a little bit better. And the one thing that Oklahoma City has is that they've got an automatic bucket in SGA. The Spurs are still developing that, like Wemby at times. It could be one of the young guards. Maybe it's Dylan Harper, De'Aaron Fox, but it's not, they don't have that automatic bucket like SGA. So, yeah, we'll see. But I would expect Oklahoma City to get the job done. And then If they win and go back-to-back, then they'll go into a season where they have a chance to make it 3 in a row, and then they can enter into the conversation as one of the best teams of all time. Going back-to-back is great, but if you want to separate yourself from the rest of the pack, you got to get to that three-peat situation because multiple teams have done that, but can they get the job done? And right now, free throw good, 3-point game, 22-19 Cleveland. First quarter, 2:55 to go in Detroit. So again, for the Pistons, can they find enough shot makers outside of Cade Cunningham? And for the Cavs, can they eliminate their turnovers, which have been a big problem for them on the road in the postseason thus far? So we'll see. But I just think it's amazing how we overreact in playoff series one game to the next. So Cleveland's down 2-0 going back home. They're done, but they're not done because they won back-to-back home games, and they go into Game 5 evened up at 2. So it just changes from, series to series, game to game. The teams make adjustments. They're able to rebound and put themselves in the right position. And now Detroit's got to rediscover some of the magic they had in the first 2 games. And you could tell early on here in the first quarter, they're struggling a little bit to get to their spots and get good shots. And that's going to be a problem for them. And they got to have a big night from Cade Cunningham, who struggled in Game 4. But that's about all. If you got any thoughts on the Blazers, a lot of people, I think, are excited about the possibility of a big move. They may or may not go in that direction. As I said about Giannis, of course, if you've got a chance to get Giannis, you simply have to investigate that because he's so great. But at the same time, at 31, there is some pause there. And Dave Decker broke that down. It's like, hey, you've got to know what he's got. How much does he have left in the tank? And these are important questions. How much does he have left? And Dave talked about that.
Well, the big thing is, can you get a couple? Again, he can opt out after next year. The only thing that you have guaranteed is next season. Unless that changes, I don't think you can make that your big and only swing. Because if the player can say, I want to go play in LA or something, or play for someone who's closer to a championship, you've just spent all your assets and now you have nothing, right?
Yes.
If he would either guarantee he's going to opt in or the Blazers can renegotiate with him, whatever it takes. If he's here for 3 or 4 years, I think you do consider doing that because you're never going to get a more top-level talent. It may require you to rebuild the rest of your roster because what you need around Giannis, and assuming you didn't trade Denny to get him, you need shooters around those guys. You don't have any. So now you begin a major retooling, but the Blazers can do that, and it's worth it if he's staying for the next 3 or 4 seasons. If he's not, then again, all that work is for 1 year, one shot. You probably can't get it done in that time frame anyway, and by the time you do get it done, there's a good chance he's going to be gone. You cannot make that move.
All right, there you go. So, yeah, age is a factor. His game is predicated on athleticism. And those type of stars typically don't age as well as someone like Kareem or what we're going to see from Jokic, guys who are, less dependent on the athleticism to get the things done that they need to get done. That's just how it works. So we'll see. 29-25 Detroit with 28 seconds to go in that first quarter. And these teams are flying around getting after it right now. That's what I love about, big-time situations in the playoffs. Guys typically will put their body on the floor. Like, it gets pretty crazy. And Donovan Mitchell just made a ridiculous shot and then went down, and now he's writhing in pain. And you hate to see that kind of stuff. You don't want to see guys go down in pain, but he's in pain right now. Made a tough layup high off the window, and it looked like he may have turned his ankle or hit his knee, but he's back up on his feet now. Yeah, a little ankle turn. Oh, yeah, a little tweak of the ankle. He'll probably be okay. He's up now on his feet, but you don't want to see that. You don't want to see guys go down in key situations. We're going to have a little bonus Rip City Drive time tonight. I'll take you up to about 6:15 tonight. Matt Rickert and Seth Holing are going to join me again before the Hops game against Spokane. Telephone number 503-248-0620. So Seth and Matt coming up at 6 o'clock. It's a little bonus Chad time tonight for you. All right, we'll keep things rolling. You got the Rip City Drive. All right, little naughty by nature. You said The Godfather loved this song?
He loves rap music.
Yeah, The Godfather's got varied musical taste, which I like. Mystical is also one of his faves.
Yeah, that threw Damian Lillard off when he told Dame that.
This is what, from like 1990? This is from way back in the day.
Yeah, OPP was their first song, so this was their follow-up.
That's right. All right, 503-248-0620. Boy, highly contested game right now in Detroit with the Cavs and Pistons. Second quarter. And it's pretty much what you'd expect. Low scoring, defensive-minded, and Isaiah Stewart out there on the floor mixing it up with dudes. Tobias Harris having words. Yeah, usually by game 5, teams don't like each other. And that makes basketball better. You know, the game has changed. These kids all grew up, playing basketball together, AAU. There's too many friends. We need more guys who don't like each other and want to get after one another. I mean, that's the way it was when I grew up. Magic, Michael, and some of those guys, they did not want to be friends with one another because they wanted to kill them when they went out there on the floor. Heck, Isaiah and Magic used to kiss before NBA Finals games, and then they go out on the floor and try to kill one another. I saw Magic put a forearm shiver into Isaiah Thomas and try to kill him. But, yeah, this is good. Isaiah Stewart, he doesn't care. He crazy. And now tempers are flaring. This is good. It's good for it's good basketball. You need sports hate. You got to have some bitterness out there. And when you're banging up and on the same guys for 4 or 5 games, you start to get tired of them. Isaiah Stewart's an annoying guy because he's physical. And guys like that, tough guys. I don't like playing against guys like that. Physical guys. When I was playing hoop when I was younger on the playground, the guys who were the most physical gave me the most problems. Probably because I'm soft. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. Have you ever been to a rap concert, Shacker? I'm trying to think if I've been. I can't remember. Too many shows over the course of time. But you can chime in anything that's on your mind. We're going to talk with Matt Rickert and Seth Hoyland coming up at 6. They're getting ready from Hillsborough Hops Ballpark for a game against Spokane. So we'll talk a little baseball with them again tonight. And let's go out to Eddie, my man, in Vancouver. Eddie, what's up, brother?
Yeah, my guy, man. Just want to say, normally I'm at work listening to you, right?
Yes. Where are you at right now?
Last summer, I'm at home, bro. I'm off work for 30 days. I need to wear a boot and stay off my ankle.
What happened to your ankle? You rolled it?
I rolled it last summer, though, man. Walking around in the backyard, my uneven, unlevel backyard, so I kind of rolled my ankle and just never healed. And I'm a guy, I walk like 7-8 miles a day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And but Chad, man, I feel so bad for your nephew. This is like a good time. This is like the best of times, but the worst of times. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's graduating.
Year.
Yeah, he's graduating, and his dad's not going to be there to see it. I hate that for him.
Yeah,
it sucks.
Yeah, bro. I was thinking, man, like maybe 150, like $150. You just have to break the bank. You know what I mean? But
so 200 is not too little. So if I go two Benjamins, that's not too few of dollars for him.
200, he's gonna be stoked. He's gonna love you, dude. 200, he ain't expecting that.
Okay, good.
But, But anyway, I was gonna say, what's up, Chad? Man, I'm still listening to you. I'm at home. I can't. I gotta admit, I can't get every minute. I get bothered, and then I miss something. I miss a segment here and there. But as far as songs go, too, man, like stories of songs, I listened to Casey Kasem, right? I know a couple of weeks ago, he was doing the 70s, and Paul McCartney from, Let It Be. He said that song came to him in his dream, and his mom's name is Mary, so Mother Mary. So I don't know. I thought that was interesting.
That is awesome.
There's more probably music tidbits that I know that I'm not thinking of right now. But there is something I do want to ask you, Chad, because you're big into movies. Have you ever seen Dirty Rotten Scandals? Being from Oklahoma and everything.
Dirty Rotten Scandals?
Remember that movie, the Steve Martin, Dirty Rotten Scandals, Steve Martin.
Oh, I have. I've seen it. It's been a long time. Like I saw it a long time ago, so I need to watch it again to refresh my memory on it.
But whenever I hear Oklahoma, like when you say Oklahoma, I always think of the scene. There's a scene where Michael Caine's trying to con this lady, I think Fanny Banks from Omaha, whatever. But she found out that he had a brother, and he was taking his brother to Oklahoma, and then Steve Martin was brother, and he started yelling Oklahoma, Oklahoma, Oklahoma. So whenever I get excited, sometimes, man, I still say Oklahoma, Oklahoma. That was like 1988. Sometimes it'd be like, Burgerville for dinner. I'll be Oklahoma, Oklahoma, Oklahoma.
Dude, you know what's funny? Someone sent me a picture online the other day of, you know how Oklahoma's an oddly shapen state where it's got that long strip that's connected to a couple of states?
Right.
Someone sent me a picture of that and had that area circled and said, hey, Chad, what goes on here? And I was like, not much that's good, I can tell you that much. But I think out in that area, there's like a lot of good quail hunting. But I thought that was funny that they circled that part of the state and said, what's going on here? Because it's just a little strip of state that connects to a couple of different states. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, I will tell you something. One show that I watched, I think it's my favorite show. I wish I would have been a cop a long time ago. Was The First 48.
Yeah.
And I'm bored. There's so much stuff on YouTube too, like the body cam stuff. I watch that all day long. But anyway, The First 48, Tulsa, Oklahoma, man. Oh my God. Note to self: do not go to Tulsa, Oklahoma. Okay? That's what you do for real, man. I don't understand. I'm glad you got the hell out of there, man.
Yeah.
A long time ago.
No, it's true. It's funny, and I appreciate the call, Eddie. And man, take care of yourself. Get that ankle right. No, I went back. I went back and visited Oklahoma recently. A few years ago, I went back to decorate my Nana's grave and spent some time in Tulsa. I still got a lot of family there, and so it was cool to go around and see all the places that I had seen smaller, and it just looks different. Everything looks smaller. It just looks different. Everything looks smaller. And I think that's because when you're a kid, everything looks big. But when I go back and visit home now, the neighborhood, the city, everything just looks a little bit smaller. But yeah, Oklahoma, it's like one of those places where like I love it there because I'm from there. Like the land is part of me. But people who aren't from there have no reason to go there. Honestly. Too many tornadoes, too. Our town got wiped off a map by a tornado. I don't know how we survived that one. I guess by the grace of God. The schools got wiped out. It sounded like literally a freight train coming right over the top of your dome. Yeah, if you're not from there, you have no reason to go. That much I can guarantee you. There's a lot of good fish in there, though. And the people are nice. There's a different dialect in Oklahoma. Like if I went back and hung out there with family for too long, I'd get that twang back. All right, we'll come back. We're going to head out to Hillsborough Hop Ballpark. Beautiful facility. We'll be joined by Seth Hoyland and Matt Rickard here on a bonus segment of the Rip City Drive. All right, we head back to Hillsborough Ballpark. Once again, joined by Matt Rickard and Seth Hoyland. And you guys prepared me for the game last night. Spokane was playing good baseball, and they got the win last night 7-3. What's up, fellas?
How you doing, Chad?
Very well.
Hey, Chad.
Well, it's great to talk to you guys once again. And it sounds like there's some festive music going on there. What's going on?
We got some mariachi music going on. What do we
that.
got? Hillsborough High School takeover tonight. Last night was Beaverton High. Tonight, Hill High.
There's a really cool program we're running where local high schools are able to quote unquote take over the game, and what we mean by that is they get full reign over the promotions, over the PA, the on-field MC. So they get to kind of get some real-world experience. And so last night was Beaverton High School, so they had a marketing group out here who kind of ran the game presentation. And tonight is Hillsborough High School, and so they got a mariachi band on the field, and then they'll have a student PA announcer in the stadium during the game and some different promos and stuff that their marketing class completely put together. So pretty cool opportunity for those students.
You know, one thing I forgot to ask you guys last night, what's the reaction of like when the opposing team comes in and these young ball players see the park for the first time? Like, are they blown away too? What's their reaction like?
I remember the first night, Spokane, one of their players was just gobsmacked to talk to you about it.
Yeah, it was Chad, it actually might have been the day that you were here for that media day. But, yeah, it was after our first series in Eugene. We were playing Spokane at home. And I walked out kind of by the tunnel, and there was a couple of their players on the top step of the dugout. It was on the Monday before the game. They just got here and dropped all their stuff off, and were kind of checking things out. And one of them had no idea who I was, like tapped me on the shoulder and was like, "This is incredible." And they both had their phones out and were recording the field and the big screen. And so it's always really, really cool to see the reaction that, the players and the coaches, even, again, a lot of these coaches, they have major league experience, they have major league coaching experience, and so they've seen all the best of the best venues in the world, and even them, seeing them in awe of what this minor league facility is, is pretty incredible.
And Spokane's got a pretty good facility themselves. I mean, if it's the stadium, it's an older venue, but that's an old AAA venue. I mean, you remember those Dodger teams from the late 70s, early 80s, those World Series? A lot of those guys came through Spokane. Tommy Lasorda managed there when they were a AAA affiliate of the Dodgers. So, that was great to hear from them in particular.
No, I think that's the best witness test to the new stadium is when you talk to the ball players and the young guys, because I would imagine a lot of these guys who grow up, playing some small ball as they continue their pathway for their careers, they haven't played in a facility like that. I mean, I'm still blown away. It really is something else, and I'm just happy that the guys get a chance to experience that. And I would imagine that for the Hops now, because of the facilities and the setup, right, like it's going to give them an opportunity to get better access to better prospects, right?
Yeah, I mean, obviously this week specifically, we have a lot of the Arizona Diamondbacks team staff in town. The farm director, Chris Slivka, is here this week. But, again, getting them to be able to see the facility in person for the first time. And I think they realize how special it is as well. We already had one Major League Rehab appearance this year. Tommy Henry made a rehab start for us. So could give us better access to more rehab starts, to higher-ranked prospects, things like that. But the facility in general, just all around, is huge benefit.
Well, a good comparison would be Tri-City.
Yeah.
And you look at, since they've been an Angels affiliate since 2021, a lot of the top Angels prospects have skipped right over. Sonny DeShera debuted at Double-A. He never played a game there. Cole Fontanelle's a Northwest kid. He's from Sammamish. He was a University of Washington recruit, finished off in Texas, but they pushed him straight to Double-A before he came back to High A. So this is a place where the Diamondbacks would not hesitate to send the top prospects through.
All right, so what can you tell me about the pitching matchup tonight with, I think the probables are Jordy Vargas and Real Britain?
Yeah, Brian Curley was the scheduled starter. He was the opening night starter. Impressive start to the season. Flamethrower at the University of Georgia. He's been pushed back a day, dealing with some back tightness. We got Real Britain getting the start tonight. Of course, he pitched for the Oregon Ducks. He finished his college career at NC State. And the reason he transferred from Oregon to NC State, he wanted the opportunity to start, and he wasn't going to get that in Eugene. Well, he was the opening day starter for NC State, and then got ill and was sidelined for a few weeks and lost his spot in the rotation and ended up back in the bullpen for the Wolfpack. So obviously he wants to be a starting pitcher. It's been kind of an up and down season for Rio. He got off to a really good start. He's been hit pretty hard his last couple of times out, looking for a bounce back here tonight. And it'll be a tough one on the mound for Spokane. Jordy Vargas, number 2 in the league and on opponents' batting average. Opponents hitting just 172 off Vargas, but he has been a little wild. He's walked 20 batters, so we'll see if we have some more offensive fireworks in tonight's game.
And the Hops had faced Vargas, second outing of the year for Jordy, and he was really good in that outing. 5 one-run innings. The Hops with 1 home run against him in that game, but really low batting average against for Vargas, and for the Hops, a struggling offense. Definitely going to be a test here today, but let me tell you, last night the ball was flying out of here. Probably the best we've seen of any game so far this year. Just the way the ball was flying. Again, the wind blowing out to right field today. Gerald Neen for the Hops hit a home run, and then Jacob Humphrey and Jacob Hinderleiter for Spokane. We had 3 home runs in yesterday's game.
Yeah, we're still trying to figure out how this park plays.
Yeah.
So last night it was carrying very well, wind blowing out to right, and that's going to be probably the most favorable direction for power hitters in this ballpark. I think for the most part the wind is going to be going from left to right on most nights here, and it's 325 down the line to right field. And we saw our first home run off the big video scoreboard last night. Jacob Humphrey in the first inning for Spokane. He's been a surprise, undrafted free agent out of Vanderbilt, leading the league in batting right now.
Yeah, he's a perfect example of a guy who took an opportunity. You know, the Rockies signed him undrafted, took a risk on him, and he's performed. And he's, as you mentioned, the leading batter in the Northwest League entering play today.
You know, I've noticed when it comes to when I'm watching college basketball or college football, every once in a while you'll see a young prospect that's got, like special talent where you're like, okay, that's definitely a pro. Have you guys been watching these games for a while now? Do the prospects that appear to have special talent, do they jump out at you real quick? Can you see that?
Oh, they have,
yes.
Yeah,
they definitely have. And a perfect example is Ryan Waldschmidt. So the Diamondbacks' number 1 prospect started last year on the Hops opening day roster. He was a first-round pick in 2024, a veteran college player out of the University of Kentucky, and he just got called up to the Diamondbacks last week. Has been phenomenal in his first week of the season. I'm sure you've seen some highlights of him all over the place, but had a big RBI double, RBI single in his second career game, had a pinch hit single in his first ever plate appearance, had a couple of web gem catches. But when he was here last year, I mean, he was on the Hops last year, and he is playing every day in the major leagues right now. And you could tell, I mean, he was a guy that you look at and you're like, that guy is a big leaguer. You know, the ball just sounds different off of his bat. But then, again, a guy like Jacob Humphrey, we talked about last night for Spokane, I mean, he's an undrafted player, so who knows? But he's a guy that you look in a couple of years, he could easily be in the big leagues. And there's also other examples of players that we've seen that we would have never guessed would have made it. And for whatever reason, they had an opportunity, someone gets injured, and they take the most of the opportunity and perform, and they're in the majors.
Yeah, there have been a few that have popped over the year. Obviously, Corbin Carroll was one. Geraldo Perdomo was another. I thought he was the best prospect we'd had up to that point when he was with the Hops. Now he's a Major League All-Star. But some of them you never know. Ivan Melendez, I thought he would have been up in the big leagues by now, but the Diamondbacks just released him last week. So you never can tell.
Yeah.
That's great. We're talking with Seth Hoyle and Matt Ricker, getting ready for Spokane and Hillsboro from Hillsboro Hops Ballpark. What's it like with this format where you're playing the same team 4, 5, 6 times in a row? Does that give you an advantage from being able to understand your opponent and what they have to offer in their lineup?
Well, I would say the most frustrating thing for the league as it's currently formatted is the fact that it's only 6 teams. Mm-hmm. And part of the fun of minor league baseball, you root for the team in your hometown, but you also have in this league the Everett Aqua Sox with the Mariners young players, so a Mariners fan is going to want to see them play.
Yeah.
We've got the Giants affiliates, or the Giants young players playing for the Eugene Emeralds and excelling this year. So those would be your, as far as local area fans are concerned, probably the 2 teams they'd be most interested in. So there's that aspect of it. Plus the fact that you want to see as many of the future stars as you can, and we only get to see the future stars of 5 different organizations in this league. So it's a little frustrating in that regard. It was an 8-team circuit when we joined in 2013, but contracted down to 6. We're hoping down the line things will change. I think the future of this ballpark is not Advanced A. This is a AAA facility for sure, and hopefully that is in the cards down the road here. And if that comes to pass, yeah, we'll get to see more teams and more players, which will be very exciting. For us personally, the 6-game schedule with Mondays off every week is an incredible godsend. This minor league for a play-by-play announcer, there is no bigger grind in sports than the minor league baseball schedule as it used to be. You only had a couple of days off during the entire season, and now you get a regular day off every week, which is incredible.
Yeah, that is awesome. I worked for the Portland Beavers for a couple of years up at PG Park, and that was one of the challenges was, during the summertime, it's like my days were eaten up at the ballpark. And we're talking about long hours, which is what you guys experience. So it is a grind, and that's why I have a lot of respect for you and everyone else that does it, because it has to be a passion play because of all the work that's put in. No question about it.
Long hours at the ballpark, long hours on the bus, traveling, particularly out here in the West. We got long distances. And now we're looking at Eugene needing to find a new home. It's going to be a couple of years yet before they relocate, but it's looking like they'll be in Medford. So what are they going to do if that comes to pass? The Vancouver to Medford trip on the bus? Not feasible.
Seth is out. Matt is out. Yeah. It's going to be, hey, Rich, good luck in Medford, buddy. Well, I tell you what, guys, it's great to talk with you again. So enjoy the game tonight. Have a great call, and we'll catch up soon.
All right. Thank you, Chad.
You got it. All right. Big thanks to all of you, Seth and Matt. And thanks for listening your time. Michael Shacker for engineering the program. Enjoy your night, and we'll be back tomorrow, Rip City Drive at 3 o'clock. I'll be joined by Brad Bakken to talk NBA playoffs, and we'll preview the PGA with PGA David Coleman here on the Rip City Drive.